Good morning. My name is Pam Williams, she, hers, and I, with the help of fellow facilitators, coordinated the Coming of Age program this year. I've been a member of WES for 32 years and mostly taught the pre-K class in our Sunday school. In fact, I'm proud to say that some of the teens we celebrate today started out in that class. So, typically, I've worked with a much younger crowd in the Sunday school, so this was a new undertaking and quite a challenge for me. But with the support of Peggy Gates, our former Director of Education and previous co-leader, Sonia Cuppers, a Scout leader, Mike Kravitz, a former teen group leader, and Karen Schofield-Laka, who has a wealth of experience, is incredibly organized, and makes great cupcakes. We formed a team to provide the program this year. Whew. Okay. The Coming of Age program is a unique opportunity in which teens and their parents intentionally mark the teen's passage from childhood to young adulthood. During this 9-month program, they have become a family of families in which teens learn to assume more independence and responsibility, while parents learn to lessen their need to direct and control. As some of you know, COAMAT began in 1998 when, at the age of 16, Matthew Wayman, son of WES members Todd and Lynn Wayman, died in a tragic car accident caused by the reckless driving of his best friend. After Matthew's death, Todd and Lynn channeled their grief into action by collaborating with Don Montagna and Mary Herman to develop a robust coming-of-age program. It involved both parents and teens, included physical challenges, trust building, exploration of one's identity, and the experience of camping overnight alone on a mountain. It also focused on strengthening family bonds through improved communication and learning to make and keep agreements and to match freedoms with responsibilities. Over this year, I learned a lot from my co-facilitators and from the teens and the parents who participated this year. I learned about life as a teenager since the COVID pandemic, how important technology and cell phones are for these teens, and how important gender identity is. I expanded my awareness of accessibility issues and how that impacts everything when you use a wheelchair. Thank you, Bea, for keeping us focused on this issue. From the parents, I learned about new challenges they face raising teens at this particular time in history that I didn't face with my 2 boys, you heard from Thomas, and Sam, when they went through the program. During the year, I was most impressed with how these teens connected with each other during our meetings and weekend retreats. They laughed a lot, they openly shared their feelings and opinions, and were supportive of each other when facing challenges. In small group discussions, they were able to share their thoughts with other parents and hear stories about when those adults were growing up, how they made decisions, and what it means to be an adult. I'd like to share a few snapshots from this year. At the ropes course in the fall, we all experienced team building exercises and the scary thrill of swinging between trees in a harness 50 feet above the ground. That is thrilling, especially for me. I think the teens were much better at that. On the identity weekend, we explored the many identities we embody and which ones are most important to us. Teens and parents participated in a mask-making activity. This endeavor required patience, vulnerability, and complete trust in the other person, while having plaster covering their faces. They couldn't speak. Some could not see. You will see some of these displayed in the lobby, decorated in a way that expresses that teen's individuality. In the evening, we enjoyed a wonderful campfire with s'mores, of course. At the same time, the parents answered anonymous questions written by the teens about issues they may face in the future, including one about how the stock market works. Such a sophisticated group. And luckily, we had 2 economists that could answer the question. Whew. Our final weekend retreat was the InnerQuest, which is always a challenge for teens who have never spent a night alone on the side of a mountain. I will say, some of the teens are scouts and have camped out, lots of experience, but not totally on their own. They had to pack everything they needed in a backpack, hike up a steep mountainside, set up their tent, bring their own food, and spend time reflecting and communing with nature. They were rewarded with a beautiful sunset and no visits from bears. All this while the parents had their own time to reflect on their emerging adults, young adults, and discuss their developing new relationships with them. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the amazing food that this group of parents provided at every meeting, every weekend retreat, and especially at the, where's Abby? Especially at the celebratory breakfast after the teens returned from the mountain. I mean, we are not nicknamed the Washington Eating Society for nothing. These graduates are a very diverse group of young people, and I hope they will stay connected as they follow their own paths to adulthood. I believe they have received a strong foundation from their participation here in Sunday school programming at WES and from their families. This foundation gives me much hope as these youth continue their journey into the future. There are many issues, problems, and possibilities confronting them for which we, their parents, have no experience in how to guide them along. Indeed, much of what they face is unique to their generation. Our task is to show up fully present, to listen and learn and expand our understanding of one another's reality, and to always love them unconditionally. Teens, may you remember that whatever challenges in life come your way, you have more strength, intelligence, and resilience within you than you could ever imagine. Thank you. Unfortunately, Peggy couldn't be here this morning. She was here last night, but she needed to go to New York today to be with her daughter, who is also a graduate. But now we will hear from the teens. And first is Sarah Rachel.
Though you just heard it, I will introduce myself again, briefly and understandably, hopefully. You can call me by the name Sarah Rachel, my first and middle names, though I say this without the confidence expressed by Sam I am. This has been a year of many changes for me, and I have introduced myself many times to many different people, rarely in the same way. On the second meeting of COA, the first having been only a meeting about what the plan was, I added a light bit of they them after the name. I had realized in the first meeting of COA that this was a controlled environment, something that I decided to act on. I had been thinking about finding the right thing to be, the right thing to say that I am. I don't think that this was, but I think what it was, though, is closer. My parents were startled. I hadn't mentioned they them pronouns at all before. But they asked no questions, at least until later in the car home. They went along with it. They've been very supportive, even when I keep information myself. This is something that I've struggled with, telling them things, sharing what could be very important information, occasionally with excuses about its convenience. It's funny, I expect more judgment. Though I might get it, it's not for the important things, only for eating cold pizza. I do not always understand them, and they do not always understand me. I learned that the best way to communicate about topics that I truly care about is bluntly. Even when the topics feel far too delicate for something like that, like trying to recreate a glass shape with my hands and a bit of clay. But sometimes complete understanding is impossible, no matter how similar to someone else you feel. We learn how to make agreements in COA with a worksheet. The idea is negotiation type skills. I was drawn in almost immediately by structure, but turned off almost as quickly by content. Because the idea is something that I want from my parents. But what do I want from them that doesn't also involve my two siblings? Nothing can truly be arranged like that. But then we tried it out, and I came to a realization, being blunt. I had decided to ask for about an hour of quiet when I came home from school, hoping to get more homework done. The homework didn't happen. But in the conversation, we were all on the same side. The side, of course, being that less homework means less stress for everyone. This doesn't mean that bluntness is easy. It is spectacularly difficult to try to put into words emotions and truths. I certainly think that the aforementioned fear of being judged is part of it. Quite simply, if they don't know, then how can they judge? But keeping things bottled up becomes impossible after too long. And nothing is perfect. I've wondered many times if I imagined coming out as one of many slightly different variations on my gender to my family. I like to hear a mix of pronouns describing myself. Drowning in a sea of she's and hers is not my preferred existence. But what I have learned is that sometimes all I need to do is be explicit. Say help, and a hand will reach out of a passing boat. My mom's hand, my sibling's hand, my friend's hand. Because even if understanding is not possible, listening is.
Hi, I'm Jolie. So, going into COAMAT, I did not know what to fully expect. The first question I really had was, why is it 3 hours out of my week on a Sunday? I had no idea what the class was about, and it made me very confused. It was very ambiguous. But after all of the sessions now, I can sort of see the idea. Inner Quest was an experience that was a challenge in my book. In the middle of a mountain, time passed really slowly, and I just laid there listening to the gunshots from the other mountain across. Right now, I still don't understand the meaning of Inner Quest, but I feel like I will later in life when I'm more busy. I may not seem like I enjoy most things, but what I do enjoy is learning about different experiences that people have. The COA small group discussions have given me insight about how people grew up, their relationships with each other, and how they persevered to get where they are now. I like these because it expanded my knowledge of others to help me in the future to emphasize and learn about others in the future as well. I think COA has also slightly aided in improving my relationship with my parents. Communication was a problem for us, as is a problem with many others too. But it gave me insight in how much my parents and others care for me, even if it is not shown. Thank you.
Hi, so my name's Haya. I, like many of the other teens, have been coming to WES since I was very young, since Pam was teaching pre-K. So I've been seeing the COA seniors graduate. I've been seeing the COA seniors graduate since I was way too young. Well, since I was much younger than them, and I've never really understood what to expect. And I've always thought it was going to be very scary, but actually doing it, it felt more right than I thought. Like, COA helped me understand my mother much better than I did before, like the generational gap and other adults too, like in the small group discussions. I understood adults better than I did before. And Sonia Cupers, who's a great troop leader, I'm one of the people who are in the troop, she was one of the COA directors, and she very much helped through all of this. I enjoyed COA a lot. And though I am in the BSA, I go camping a lot. Interquest was surprisingly scary to me because I truly believed there was going to be a bear and I was going to die. But it was one night alone in the woods, very surprising to me. But overall, COA truly really helped me through the year, which I did not truly expect because my sister Joy, she went through before and every day she came home and complained, and I was not trying to do that. Overall, really 10 out of 10 experience, do recommend.
I'm Fern. For me, COA wasn't the most meaningful experience ever. I don't think I started COA as a youth and ended COA as a young adult. I think I started as Fern and I ended as Fern but 9 months older. So aside from that, it was still a very enjoyable experience. I loved hanging out with the other teens and completely disrupting lesson plans by just laughing the whole time while we were in small group discussions. And I'd also like to express my gratitude that for my parents. A major focus of COA was improving communication between youth and their parents, and I'm so grateful that my family didn't really need that. I think my parents already knew how to communicate with me and how to come to agreements. Whenever I asked them for something, it wasn't a yes or no answer. It was a discussion, and we found compromises often. And I don't have much more to say about COA, so I'd like to instead tell a story from Interquest that has become a household joke in my family. So Sonia and the rest of the scout troop has taught me camping very well. So in order to make COA a challenge for me, I decided to light a fire and make my own dinner instead of bringing something already prepared. So I collected firewood, I built a fire ring, and as the sun went down, I built my fire. I built a tripod and hung a pot over the fire, and I boiled water in it. And then I got out my ramen that I was going to make with this boiled water. I took it out of the package, and then I dropped it in the fire. And watching your ramen burn has now become a saying in my family for when you plan something so perfectly and then it all goes wrong at the end. And I think it's very funny as well as I think a useful metaphor. But what I'm very proud of is after this disaster, I was able to move on. I had a backup. I still had a plan. The everything going wrong didn't completely ruin it for me. As the Scout motto says, be prepared.
Okay. Hi. I'm B. My pronouns are he, him. Um, I wasn't gonna talk because I don't have a speech because I forgot to make one. Um, I mean, I could have made, anyways. Um, the whole, like, I came into COA being like, oh, this is like a, you know, like, okay, it's not gonna be all meaningful or whatever, but like, it's gonna be pretty fun. And it was pretty fun, but also, I feel like COA could, I know COA is supposed to like improve communication between you and your parents, and I think me and my mom need a little more, like maybe some intense therapy type of stuff, and then some sort of family therapy, basically. This was not family therapy. This was fun, though. InterQuest the whole thing was pretty not the same for me as it was for everybody else, because like a lot, like the ropes course, which I had to leave early because of reasons, but like, you know, it wasn't all like accessible, it wasn't all like super easy. So, you know, we tried to adapt, and I'm really glad Pam like really tried to make things more accessible for me. Everybody, I mean, especially Sonia, Pam, Peggy, everybody tried to make it more accessible for me. And honestly, everybody, because, I mean, COA should just be accessible, even if there's not a person in the wheelchair, but, you know. But, like, on the inner quest, I'm just, sorry, I have no idea what I'm supposed to say. Yeah, I know. But well, on the inner quest, so I wasn't gonna hike up a mountain, obviously, clearly. I wasn't gonna hike up a mountain, set up my own tent on a mountain in the middle of nowhere with no bathroom, not, by the way. I wasn't gonna do that, not even gonna try. So I camped right next to the bathrooms, which was not the most nice smelling thing, but I couldn't, so I have some medical conditions where it's like independence can be hard. Um, like I had a little fun little medical episode during the interquest, and had to call for help, but so I didn't do it completely alone. But it was nice to like not like I'm also in the scout troop and I go camping a lot and I go camping with the scouts and like they're always there to help me, but it was kind of nice to just kind of be alone and not have to do anything basically. Like I don't have to cook a bunch of food and then clean up and then, you know. So, yeah. Anyways, COVID was fun, stressful, but helpful.
Don't know how to fix that, but it's fine. We'd work with it. Hi, I'm Alex. I've been coming to WES, what Haya said, from very young. What I'm in my speech, I'll be talking about what I liked and what I learned. Starting off, what I liked. What I liked was all the camping trips, the meetings, things we did just as a group, or things we just did as for fun. The meetings, were fun. Sometimes we got off track, talking about other things, which was fun. But all in all, at the end of the day, we got the activities done. All right. For the identity weekend was a fun thing. Coming into it, I was like, I made a joke with some of the teens and some of the educators that I would work out, right? I would work out the entire time. I didn't do any of that. I just sat on a rock and thought my thoughts and wrote in a journal. Now thinking back at it, I was happy I didn't do that because I'd probably be in pain afterwards, which is good because then I had to walk down the hill. Um, Besides that, things I learned was that when I was on the mountain, I needed to go away from having to hide behind my parents from talking to like older adults. Just couldn't like be like, hey dad, can you come here and just stand right here, or mom, stand over there, and just hide behind them. I have to talk and man up and talk to people I don't know. Another thing is that I learned was that I in the future I actually have to do things that I wouldn't want to do, such as get a job. But I will have to if I want to make money and do what I want. Anyways, last and final thing I would like to do is I would like to thank all the I put volunteers on this lit right here. You could call them whatever you want. I call them volunteers. But thank you, volunteers, for having this amazing 9 months. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Hi. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Casey Slack. I'm the senior leader here at WES, and I have gotten to have some conversations with these teenagers, not as many as I would like. Please talk to me sometime, okay? I'm not terrifying, I promise. Um, but I wanted to share some things with all of you, but specifically with the 6 of you. There is never going to come a day when you know what you're doing. I'm so sorry. It was probably the worst and most important thing that I learned as a young adult myself. I remember being in my early 20s and going to my parents and saying, okay, so when did you figure things out? Oh, Casey, no. That doesn't happen. As it turns out, nobody knows what they're doing. This is horrifying. The most important people in the world, no idea what they're doing. Sorry. Welcome to young adulthood. Here's the deal, though. You're going to be a different person over and over and over again. That never stops. You are a different person at 15 or 16 than you will be at 18, than you will be at 22, than you will be at 30. That space between 22 and 30, that's a big one. You got time. Don't worry about it. You'll be a different person when you're 35, when you're 45. I don't really know, I'm not 45 yet. But my guess is that you will continue being new people over and over again. And the best advice I have for you is don't worry too hard about knowing what you're doing or being right. The words you use about yourself, the things you are most excited about, those are gonna change probably a bunch of times throughout the course of your life. I remember when I was about your age, I was in high school and we were asked to make a list of words we would use to describe ourselves. Here's what I remember of mine. Majorette. Girlfriend. I'm not even a girl anymore. Daughter. Student. Kind of. That's all I remember of that list. That's who I was when I was 15 or 16 years old. I use really different words now. Clergy person, husband, minister, religious naturalist, lots of words. You will get to describe yourself over and over again. You will get to meet new people and tell them who you are. And you'll get to change who you are whenever you feel like it. You don't have to be one thing forever. You can make a mistake and then unmake it. You can love something for a while and then be done with it. You can cut all of your hair off, it can grow back. You can dye it whatever color you want. You can get extensions, you can put on a wig. You can do whatever works for you. And we're still gonna love you. We're still gonna love you. And you're still gonna be ours. You're gonna be ours whether you leave today and never decide to come back in this building, or if you come back and you choose to get involved. You're gonna be ours and we're gonna love you, no matter what. There's not a mistake you can make, an asshole you can be, that will mean that you are not deserving of love and care, that you are not deserving of a place in this community. This community is yours more than it is mine. It belongs to you more than it belongs to your parents. Don't tell them I said that. You are the future, and I am ready to learn from you. I'm also ready to learn with you and to teach you and to be on this journey with you to whatever degree it makes sense for you. I want you to know that you are wanted here, that your needs matter in this place and to me and to the rest of the staff. I think I can pretty confidently say also to the board and the rest of the community. We have stuff left to teach you, and you have stuff to teach us. And we're not gonna get to the future we all dream about, the futures we all dream about, if we don't do it together. I want to encourage all of you who are not right here to remember that you're still changing too. That just because you have finished a first puberty doesn't mean there isn't a second one coming, or an anti-puberty, as might the case be with menopause. That you are growing and developing and learning too, and I love the example that Pam and Peggy set of saying what they learned from these young people. Young adulthood is a weird time, and young people need freedom to be themselves and also a container that holds them and says, we are here. There is a stable place if you need it. Last night, Sarah used the metaphor of the pool wall that you kind of cling to when you need some stability. Your parents are that, and so are the rest of us. This will keep happening every Sunday, and when you're ready to do it, you can do it, and if you're never ready,